when I first had the idea of putting on a live web broadcast. It was before the word podcast was being bantied about. Then, of course, it hit the scene, and we were able to broadcast the Chris Pirillo Show live, and it worked out quite well. It was just audio. This is before iTunes had support for podcasting. In fact, a lot of people believe that the podcast is synonymous with iTunes and Apple, but it wasn't that way. That's not where the word came from. It actually sprang out of the community of podcasters, or people who are creating these audio broadcasts and delivering them by way of RSS enclosures. Podcasting is merely a delivery mechanism. I've been at it for a while. You could call this a podcast when we do the live video, TLDR, the Locker Room Daily Report. It also gets shared on iTunes. You can subscribe to it there, or, as many of you do, on YouTube as well. Some of you watch the full live episode. Some of you guys just watch individual clips from the episode. There are some tips and tricks we have up our sleeve. And just like we announced the other day, we've got a webinar covering the finer points of starting a web show, a podcast, some kind of programming that you want to create for yourself or for a potential audience. We're doing the webinar for Nomies. It's happening tonight. But let's just say you're not one of the Nomies. Okay, not a big deal. Maybe one day. We've shared some of the basic tips for what you could consider and should consider before you start a podcast. Number one thing to consider: can you commit? You know, it's funny. People will start up a blog, and they're gung-ho for a week, and they go and go and go, and then suddenly nothing. That's just the way it's always been. They're great in the beginning, and suddenly they realize it takes a lot of time. And without an idea of what you want to do in a year's time, you're going to burn out quickly, or potentially lose sight of your goals. Because if you hadn't defined them, you can't see them. But if you can't commit to at least a year of production, I wouldn't recommend starting. Now, everybody's got the idea that I'm going to continue doing this. Oh, here's YouTube. I'll upload a video every day. And then pretty soon, every other day. And then every week, every month. And then you forget about it. You've seen channels like that, right? They're amazing. And then they just stop producing because they lose time or lose interest in something. Or maybe the subject matter has been covered ad nauseum. So what's the point of someone else doing it? If you can't commit to 12 months in producing programming for dissemination, distribution anywhere, I wouldn't recommend starting until you've got that planned fully. Commit to a year. The second thing you gotta consider: are you happy? And I don't mean a happy person, really. I mean, there are a lot of people who get, they build a name for themselves from being grumpy. Happy with the topic or the subject matter that you want to cover. So, over the years, I've, lived within the universe, generally, of geekery. I've done some personal broadcasts before as well, and those seem to track almost just as well as the more tech or geeky bent programming that I've done. And generally speaking, I talk and I speak from my heart. I tell you what's on my mind. And we may disagree, but I'm always satisfied with the things that I share. If I'm not happy with what I put out there, I'll do it again. In fact, during this live broadcast, one of the videos that we recorded for today, if you go back and watch the full clip, you'll see me have to restart something because I screwed it up. It was a horrible way to start, and I wanted a do-over. And I can do do-overs, right? Generally, I would say when I'm finished producing a video or creating a video, I'm happy with it. And if I'm not happy with it, I'll do it again. But are you happy with the decision to start producing for at least a year's time? Can you do it? The next step, and this is where I think a lot of people really fall short: what makes your show unique? The fact that I talk about geeky things, techie things, stuff that I want to talk about doesn't really make the show unique. There are a lot of people covering technology. So when anybody comes to me saying, I'm going to cover gaming, okay, what are you bringing to the table? Well, I'm going to talk about gaming from a kid's perspective. Okay. And I'm gonna blog too. Okay, great, but why? am I going to tune in to you? And usually all you need to make your show unique is a unique voice. And I don't mean like a high-pitched voice like mine, and believe me, I know it's high-pitched, but a voice, a personality. And if you don't have that personality, and you don't have the experience, and you don't really know what you're talking about, some people would argue that I don't know what I'm talking about. I would disagree, and I've got a lot of experience to back that up. But I can tell you, there's only one Chris Pirillo, and I'm grateful for that. There's only one you, and you should be grateful for that. And if you don't have a personality in audio or on camera, work on it, or potentially find someone else to take that vision of the show that you want to create and bring it to fruition. What is going to make your show memorable? I've got this setup here. It's almost iconic. People have copied this setup. I've got these lights like a Star Trek Enterprise. Now I've got the Nomi's chat room integrated, just like I've done in videos from yesteryear. Sometimes I'll have a screensaver running in the background. I make a memorable scene, and I do my best to not bang on the desk, because apparently that makes the microphone go crazy. It's a boom that's it's sitting on top of the camera. It shouldn't be, but I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. Why would you guys? Do I have to get Chris Crocker to make a video to tell you to leave me alone? Really? Is that what it's come to?